New indication suggests that a second stimulus package will be passed by August 8th. Hey, good afternoon. This is LALATE. Thanks for joining us for a second stimulus check and stimulus package update with great, exciting, good news about when a second stimulus check and stimulus package could be passed by Congress. We've all been talking about details of the package, but we've all wondered when it would be passed. And new indications suggest the passage date could come around August 8th. The question is if it will come even sooner. There's been a myriad of questions as to when Congress will take up what is called the HEROES bill, a bill that was passed by members of the Senate that has landed in the House and has become a topic of discussion with a lot of revisions and a lot of counter proposals. But rather than go into the details of that stimulus package, which we'll detail in our second of 3 stimulus check updates today, let me go into the question of when it could be passed and when money could be landing in your account. Most indications currently now suggest that the passage date could be around August 8th, if not sooner. Why do I say this? It's the following. Congress is out of session around August 8th and won't be back into session by September. No one in their right minds thinks that they'll hold a second stimulus check vote until September. Moreover, there's more indications that they need this vote in August, and you know why? For political purposes. Many insiders believe that the vote will come up in July, if not late July, early August, because a lot of Senate members are up for re-election and want to go back to their jurisdictions in August with news that they passed a stimulus check program. Where would the amount land? How would you receive the amount? How much would you receive? And what are the details of it? Well, it's all up for debate. But the proposal from the Democrats is $3 trillion. The proposals from the Republicans is $1 trillion, but the White House wants to land it somewhere in between at $2 trillion and has actually mentioned that number. Ironically, that's great news because the $2 trillion is exactly what the CARES Act provided for. And the CARES Act includes things like PPP, which won't be part of the new proposal, so it means that potentially more money could be coming to you, the individual citizen. At this point, the minimum you're expected to receive is $1,200. It's supposed to be a $1,200 check. It's supposed to land in your account or by direct deposit or by paper check. The means of delivery is still up for debate, but most think it's going to come in electronic format this time, which would mean faster and quicker delivery. But there are still questions about a larger amount. Still on the table, and this is really great, exciting news, still on the table is $2,000 for several months. Yes. What appeared to go on the wayside back in the House is now back on the table in the Senate, along with a lot of other proposals. The reason why is the following. There's a lot of new economic data, and the economic data is being supported by who else? The Federal Reserve. Jerome Powell, just days ago, chairman of the Federal Reserve, said, quote, "This direct support can make a critical difference not just in helping families and businesses in a time of need, but also in limiting long-lasting damage to our economy." He was giving that answer when addressing the concern of whether $1,200 was not enough. Viewers of this channel, including myself, think that $1,200 is certainly not enough. It's not enough for several reasons. One, the $1,200 was expected to be delivered in the month of May for April and in the month of June for the month of May. And here we're talking about a proposal being approved in August, which would land in September, or a proposal approved in July, arriving in August. What about all those other months? People are in need of a lot more money than a single $1,200 payment. And that's why a larger payment or consecutive payments is back on the table. $1,200 per eligible recipient was the initial proposal. And I'll remind you that the HEROES bill passed by the Democrats in the House initially had multiple $2,000 checks, but for some reason got reduced to a single $1,200 check. And this sounds familiar, it should. When the CARES Act was passed in March, the CARES Act initially called for at least three $1,200 checks. But when that came to a final vote, all those additional checks were dropped off because they said, hey, we'll take care of them as we need to. Unfortunately, Congress has not been likely to be in session all those weeks from March to now, so they haven't been able to pass all those checks. So will retroactive checks be coming to you? It's also a possibility. So now the consideration is that multiple checks, $2,000 per person every single month until January 2021, or $2,000 per individual until the pandemic ends, which could be much longer than 2021, are back on the table. These are underwritten by the Federal Reserve, and if you wonder about, or the federal government, if you wonder about, the federal government can't afford it. How does it afford it? It's the following. The federal government issues these checks and writes new money. Then, to finance the money, the federal government issues new bonds. If you remember about 10, 15 years ago, you can go to your local bank and get a CD, and it paid a wonderful 7.5% or 8%. These wonderful interest rates. These were federally Fannie Mae's, Freddie Mae's. There were these wonderful bonds at the time. Those bonds haven't existed with lucrative interest rates for people for many, many years. Now the way the Fed can underwrite, or the federal government can underwrite, issuing you lots of checks, is on the same hand issuing bonds, so that people who have money to invest can go buy bonds. Ultimately, your concern is getting those checks, those stimulus checks. And those stimulus checks will come to you. The question is how many and of what amount. But the great news now is that it appears that you will get your first check as early as late July. The manner of delivery is a real key issue because if members of Congress pass the second stimulus package in late July, how fast can they get you the check? The paper check was a topic of a lot of debates before because printing paper and mailing it is much slower than doing an electronic deposit or a debit card issuance, which is much faster. Ultimately, a direct deposit is the fastest means of delivery. What do you think about the types of delivery? Drop in the comments below. The more support as well for additional subsequent checks, not just one check, but multiple stimulus checks, is coming from new economic data. New economic data is really what's pushing and motivating the concern. First-time unemployment claims top 1 million for the 13th week, the Labor Department revealed on June 18th, just days ago. The U.S. is now in a recession. It is indisputable at this point that the U.S. is in a recession and that unemployment numbers are not necessarily improving dramatically. So with that, and that's a U.S. agency. This is not, this is not a subject of debate of what the number says. It says 13 weeks of unemployment, first-time unemployment claims over 1 million citizens. Earlier in June, the department reported the national unemployment rate had risen to about 15%. At the time, the U.S. unemployment rate was the second worst in the world, which is not something to consider lightly. So where are we on this second stimulus package vote? It appears that, ironically, the person who's moving the compass is the president in favor of it for many different reasons. Everyone from Pete Navarro to Kellyanne Conway, to Larry Kudlow, all his financial advisors, to Steve Mnuchin, all his financial advisors want a second stimulus package. The president has gone on the record he wants a second stimulus package, and he's also said he wants it between where the Republicans want it and the Democrats, which says that, hey, Mitch McConnell doesn't know what he's talking about. This is, quote, what Mitch McConnell said recently. He said on June 19th, he said, the vote will come up in July. If there's something that's going to happen, it will emerge in the Senate and it will be written in my office. come July. No offense to Mr. McConnell, but at this point, Donald Trump is really guiding what is going to be written for the Republicans, not Mitch McConnell. And so far, Mitch McConnell only wants $1 trillion, not what the president wants. He wants double that amount. Where does the president want to spend the money? He wants to spend it across all U.S. citizens. He wants all U.S. citizens to get money, whereas Mitch McConnell only wants protection for big business. Does that sound familiar? He wants liability insurance and all those wonderful things for big business, whereas the president really wants money for the average citizen. The president is also concerned about industrial jobs, the heartland of America. He's worried about those type of jobs especially. Now, as I've detailed over the last few days, we've had a lot of stimulus check updates, and we continue to do them 3 per day. But there's a lot of different parts of a stimulus package. There's those that deliver your checks right to you. There are checks that are tied to your employment and unemployment. There are checks that are tied to your health and medical. There's so much going on with the stimulus package that I don't want you to think that it's only one check. So when I cover something like this and I talk about a $1,200 check or a $2,000 check and multiple $2,000 checks, don't think that's the only check coming to you, because there's a lot of other packages that are wrapped up in one. I mean, we have hazard pay for essential workers, $13 an hour on top of what they're already being paid. That's a proposal. There's forgiveness of student debts or extension of student debts into next year. There's extension of the $600 from the federal government under PUA that's expiring in July, $600 per week. There is a proposal to pay you $1,200, which I think I'm going to get to in our next stimulus check update, an additional $1,200 to get back to work, just a check to get back to work if you have a job to get back to work. There are checks to give you weekly income if your work is not giving you enough currently because their hours are limited, or you don't have, or your employer's not giving you a lot, or your gig work and you're just getting a sporadic amount of work. So it's a lot of great stuff. So where do the numbers lie? CARES Act number March was $2 trillion. Democrats' proposal, HEROES Act, $3 trillion. Mitch McConnell and a company of one, I don't know how many people supported Mitch McConnell at this point, $1 trillion, and the president and his entire base, middle of the road, $2 trillion. So the great news is that at the moment, the microcosm, the vast majority of the debate is focusing on anything that is CARES Act or more, but not including PPP. So with PPP gone, no longer part of a second stimulus package, because that was in the CARES Act, that means that money that would normally have been exhausted for PPP and people like Shake Shack would be going to you. It's a lot more money going to you, or things that you are associated with. Coming up later today on our second stimulus check and stimulus package updates, we go over PUA and unemployment assistance. We are answering all of your questions. So if you have comments about them, drop them in the comments below. We will also be detailing a new proposal from the second stimulus package that suggests that maybe you should be paid more when you get job offers coming back to work, even if it's sporadic. But let me answer a couple of your second stimulus check questions and comments about yesterday. Yesterday, we detailed to lots of debate Explore America. And let me back up. It was, first of all, this channel is delivering the news. I am not writing the bills. So you don't like the bills, contact your congressman. Do not hate the reporter. I am not here to defend what your congressman or senators do. I'm just reporting the news. Second, there's some people that dropped in the comments, I'll only say there's a few, that said, don't tell me how to give me money, just give me money, I'll do what I want with the money. I gotta tell you that even among Republicans and Democrats, that's not gonna happen in a second stimulus package. They may give you those $1,200 checks, they may give you consecutive $2,000 checks, but beyond that, they're not going to simply hand you money on top of that and not tell you how you can do it, where you can use it. It's just not the mechanism or the mindset of any elected official at the moment. But yesterday we detailed Explore America, which was maybe misconstrued by some viewers that thought that it only applies to Roman holidays. No. If you drive more than $50 in gas per year, repeat, if you spend more than $50 in gas per year, this is something that would interest you. It basically would allow you any U.S. citizen, I don't care if you are a W-2 or an employee or unemployed, the ability to, when you go to do your taxes next year, to reduce the tax liability by 50% by that amount. And someone, I think it was Samantha, dropped a fascinating, wonderful comment. She said, would this be just sort of pushed into itemized deductions? That's a great question. And I don't think it is, because if it was pushed in itemized deductions, it wouldn't serve anyone's benefits. That would be ridiculous. Because as you know, itemized deductions in the United States are quite high. Itemized deductions cover a lot. Standardized deductions. Would it be pushed into standardized deductions? Standardized deductions numbers are very high. So with the proposal, I don't think it's part of the standardized deductions. I think it's something on top of it. When you go to do your annual taxes and you have, $300 in gas bills over an entire year, or $1,000 in gas bills. You take that money divided by 2, it would reduce your liability. Now, some viewers said, "Hey, I don't currently have a job." Well, it would give you a refund. It would give you a refund because you may have overpaid your taxes last year, or you can carry it back and get a refund from last year's taxes. You can also carry it forward to next year when you do get a job. So it's an incredible amount of money. It is not to say that this is the only stimulus package that would ever work. Certainly not. But it's free money that would come to you. And to say that you're not working now, you would never get the benefit of it, is absolutely untrue. It can be carried back, and you would get a reduction from last year. It would be carried forward and get a reduction from next year, and you would get a tax refund based upon this incredible number. So if you're going to visit mom and pop for Thanksgiving and you're doing a round trip in the pickup truck and it's $75 in gas, there you go. $35 reduced from your taxes next year. And this is a proposal that allow you to do it for 2 years, not just this year. But here we go. Deborah, what about the essential workers who work the front line from the time of the pandemic starts? Does the hazard pay proposal say anything about back pay? It does say back pay. The only thing it does limit, though, is based upon how much money the hazard pay worker gets. So they had 2 steps up, and I don't want to go over it now because it's a little confusing, but it basically said, hey, if you got, approximately $50,000 in annual salary, we'll give you this much. We'll give you $13 an hour up to this amount of money. But if you are a hazard pay worker who made $100,000, we will give you $13 an hour additional up to a lot more because you just make a lot more money. Either way, it was $13 an hour on top of your hazard pay, and it was retroactive. Robert Henson, who supports this channel on a regular basis, gotta love the scarf. Shirt, but no scarf, no scarf. Just saying, the plane. Victor, you must be getting funds from Macy's every time you mention Macy's. I'm using Macy's as a W2 example. I can use Home Depot. I can use Lowe's. I can use Shake Shack. Sharif, how do I apply for those grants, and where do I go to find them? So a lot of viewers are still asking about those grants that this channel has been talking about. So let me recap them. If it's EIDL grant, you go to sba.gov. If you're interested in the Facebook grant, it is not live currently. It was mentioned by Cheryl Sandberg on her Facebook account. If you're interested in the Google grant, it is not live yet either, but it was mentioned by its CEO on his blog post. However, he said that some of the grants would be issued by Plexo Capital. That's Plexo Capital, whose website I think is plexcap.com. Again, it's not live on that website either, but that was another one of the entities that's issuing the grant. Moreover, if you were interested in microloans in your local jurisdiction, those depend state to state. Joseph Dreamhouse, thank you for always helping us out, Elliot. Thank you. Political Lil. Well, Grandma applied Tuesday and got her loan offer. Congratulations. Pamela, hit the thumbs up. He's helping us. I know he's helping me tremendously. I am here to help you. And, understand that there's a lot of different viewers have a lot of different backgrounds. So please don't hate the reporter because I'm detailing something that is for a small business owner and you don't own a business. And please don't hate the reporter if I'm detailing something for a W-2 person, but you're self-employed. I have to to deliver news that encompasses all viewership. And so don't simply smack me in the face with a hot tamale because it's not something that applies to you. It may apply to, today might be something good for you, tomorrow may be something for someone else. R. Jones, also, and I don't write the bills. You don't like the bills, then, vote another person into office. Once you fund, does the EID alone show as debt or credit on the debit card? Credit report, I don't know. It just hits on the credit report. Equal the same. Here's the great health, Ellie. Well, thank you. That's very kind. Moat G, great video as always. Well, thank you, Moot G. Behind the Monster. Can you post the links to the African American grants? I'm trying to look for those. Those were the ones I just referred to for Facebook and for Google. They're not live. So I would ask that you stay on top of it. Moreover, the loans that I've talked about, those are live, but those aren't, for Google and Facebook, those aren't, the Google and Facebook loans are also not live, but the loan for Main Street Lending Program, it does not have a website because a lot of you are still asking about it. You apply at your local lender for that. Master 499, hail, great updates always. Is the $13 Heroes Pay go through? Do you think it will include nurses? Absolutely. Samantha 108. LALATE, I have a student loan debt, but it's private, not my fault. What to do? So the CARES Act was supposed to halt the repayment of principal and interest from, I think it's March to July. So hopefully that's been the case for you, Samantha. If they've been asking you for payments, you better call them up. The proposal under the HEROES bill is to halt that into 2021 and perhaps forgive some debts. Itola Williams, what's up when this happens? Well, I think it's going to be as I said, in August 8th. Philip Derrick, please answer the question where the people can find the Google grants and other grants. Provide your viewers with links and mediums to what you're talking about. I said it, but first of all, in that video when I detailed it, it was in the description. I indicate in the description where the announcement is. And understand, when I'm reporting to you and I say it's just announced and I say it's not underwritten, it means it's not underwritten. So what my job is to do is tell you things before they're happening. For example, we detailed the Main Street Lending Program for 2 months before it went live. We detailed PUA on LALATE, the website, months before it was even underwritten in any state. So my job is to get you informed of the thing before it goes live. Unfortunately, there's no links for things yet because they're not live. Angela Stevenson, are these available for people with bad credit? Yes. Mike Tran, could you return 85% of the Main Street Lending Program and borrow the remaining 15%? Really great question. I think I answered online. I believe you can. A lot of these programs have no early repayment penalties. So can you repay and then not carry the debt obligation? I believe you can. Janet Lee, sole proprietor, babysitter. This is an EIDL question. Kenya Safari. Someone says badass shirt. Well, thank you. Kenya Safari. I've been looking around in groups for EID. People are getting their loans and grants in 3 days. Meantime, I had a reconsideration. I just added co-borrower. Jeff Hansen. Wow, love the intro sequence. You're my hero, Ellie. Well, if you like the intro sequence, drop your comments below. Coming up, 2 more second stimulus check updates. One about that fascinating development, which I tipped off moments ago. And we answer your PUA and UI questions, which has been a big hit. So keep those PUA and UI questions coming. We will do that every single day in our 3rd second stimulus check update. As always, TFLA for more.